All right. So we're live, Reese. Everybody go ahead and let us know where you're coming in from. Go ahead and put in the chat box where you're coming in from. We got a lot of people on here. We're excited for today's coaching session. I'm going to start out, and as everybody can see on here, we've got Mr. Tom Hegna, who's not with us today, but he made a video for the IFW that we do coaching together sometimes during the month, but every week we don't do it together. But I want to play this great video. I'm going to ask Reese to do it just to hear what Tom has to say, and I'll give you a couple of remarks as well. So Reese, go ahead and play the video.
Hello, Tom Hegna here. I've been training financial professionals for over 30 years, showing them how protection products provide a safe and often guaranteed way to enhance clients' portfolios, especially when it comes to the retirement distribution planning. Now, I've never formally endorsed a sales system, but the Institute of Financial Wellness Retirement Roadmap Experience is a complete sales and marketing system that simply works, and I believe in it. If you become part of the program, and I can't think of why you wouldn't consider it, you will have a proven way to attract quality prospects, start new conversations with existing clients, engage them, and build trust with a powerful 6-step sales process. Convert them to take action with compelling facts and benefits based on math and science that will positively impact the retirement success. I'm excited for you to learn more about the Institute of Financial Wellness Retirement Roadmap Experience, and we look forward to helping you grow your business.
All right. Always great to hear from Tom, and he's got another video that he did for us for consumers that I'm going to share with you in a minute. But I want to go through today's agenda. And today we are going to talk about the power of the right questions, right? I can't think of anything more important in a sales presentation than having it set up where you know the right questions to ask, that you're prepared with these correct questions. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some background and some of the advisor benefits. And then we're going to go through the infrastructure of the 6-step sales process coaching. And the thing is that we give everyone a framework for this 6-step sales approach that connects all the dots. All right. Then we'll talk about how we can help, and we'll go into a live Q&A, and we'll also talk to you about some of the marketing resources. So to start out, I got to tell you all that it must have been 25 or 30 years ago, from a sales perspective, the story that I'm about to tell you literally changed my trajectory for being a more effective communicator, a more effective sales professional, better recruiter. This story literally changed my perspective on being a sales professional. And it's all about the power of asking the right questions. This Steve Jobs story says it all. Questions are what sell. And what we're going to talk to you about in the infrastructure of this program and the framework of this program is throughout the sales system that Tom Hegna and I developed. We talk about the right questions at the right time, and we're prepared, and they make a meaningful difference. So let me tell you the story. Steve Jobs, I think it was 30 years ago, something like that. He was trying to recruit John Scully, the then Pepsi CEO. And he was trying to convince him that he should join Apple as the CEO. Jobs was the chairman. Now let's talk about what he didn't do. What he didn't do is talk about all this benefits and let's talk about stock options and the growth of Apple and how much money he could make at Apple and stock options and all these different things and all that. He didn't do all that. And I liken that to us as sales professionals, just throwing up all of our knowledge on people. Sometimes we're guilty of doing that. what Steve Jobs did is he asked the following question. And again, this changed my trajectory as a professional. Steve Jobs said, John, let me ask you a question. Do you want to sell sugar and water for the rest of your life, or do you want to change the world? Now, obviously, that persuaded John Scully to make the move. The rest is history. But that question, and what I want to share with everybody is what you need to be thinking about, what I need to be thinking about, what we need to be thinking about throughout a sales presentation is how we're going to ask questions that get people to self-discover. Because if they don't self-discover why it makes more sense for them, like John Scully did, you're going to have a very, very difficult time convincing anybody to be slated toward working with you for your reasons. All right. So again, I just want to emphasize to everybody, this Steve Jobs story changed the trajectory of my life in a sales professional. And I just want to suggest to each of you that whenever you're doing a sales presentation, and we're going to teach you the steps right now, do not forget the power of a question. And I hope that this story about Steve Jobs, this resonates as well as it did for me. So now a little bit about the background and benefits of our sales story. Now, at the end of the day, everyone, what this sales story is all about is about how using annuities and life insurance as either income or volatility buffers, right, can increase your likelihood of achieving your goals. That's the end of the day. Now, what many of you, and please put it in the chat box, if you know what a volatility buffer is, obviously we all know what lifetime income annuities are. But by knowing the story of the volatility buffer, I want to share that we tried very hard. We had no intentions of building a software, and we knew this story from a marketing perspective, and we were trying to find a tool that we could plug in to validate with math and science. And we couldn't find it, and we were very fortunate to connect with an organization called Wealth Central. And Wealth Central had a very powerful technology, and we built it on top of that. And I'm proud to say that now this 6-step sales story lives in this patent pending software. Tom Hegner was brought in to help me shape the story, give the framework for all the things that we talk about together. The thing that Tom loved about it and that I love about it is we make it easy to use and easy to understand. Right? We don't want to complicate things, everybody. Simple is what gets people to take action. We all, in my opinion, a system is critical. So this system you'll see is built out for you. You don't have to run and try to find slides and do all these things. It's all packaged together. We're going to show you that this is very appealing to not only people that are emotional buyers, but also technical buyers. Now, I got to tell you, I love working with emotional buyers, people that want to know what time it is, not how the watch was made. I don't enjoy engineers and technical people, just not for me. Some of you, if you're like that and you like the technical part of it, don't worry, you'll be able to get into the technical components of this. But if you like the watch to know what time it is, you're good to go. And the thing that you're going to see is with the powerful questions that we teach you and the before and after that you're going to see and you're going to learn about, it gets people to just see things for themselves, do that self-discovery, and take action. And that's what we all want. We all want our clients to take action on our ideas, but we need a process to do that. And then I'm going to have my brother come in, and he runs the marketing and technology part of our business, and he's going to go through this as well, the marketing resources. So first of all, let's talk about the first thing that we're going to do. is the fact finder, right? Now, I put this slide up here to show how easy and how simple our fact finder or our data input is. This is a 10-minute situation, okay? And when you get good at it, you can do it faster. You start learning the prompts. It takes a little work to learn it. But we give you 4 critical questions to ask during the fact finder, not about how much money they want and all that. But let me go through these 4 questions, and they're in the fact finder. Those of you, I know there's a lot of people on here that are already members of the Institute of Financial Wellness, and there's some of you that are aspiring to be members. And we'll talk about how that works. But the first question is, what are your concerns, Mr. Jones? Why are we here today? How can we be of service? That's one question. You want to find their pain, their concerns, because if you don't have a problem to solve, you're not going to get very far. The second thing we're going to ask them is, if money wasn't an issue for you, how would you enjoy yourself? What would you do with your time? We want to find out their concerns and their goals and aspirations. Those are the 2 driving things, and we're going to use those things throughout the entire presentation. The third question is, tell me about your financial role models, people that you learned what to do, and also share with us some things that you learned not to do. We want to find out from this person's experiences. And the last question that is critical to ask is, who helps you make financial decisions? Now, many of you don't ask that question. I didn't ask it for a long time. And then at the end of the presentation, what did we hear? Okay, let me just check with my CPA. That means 2 things. We didn't maybe have them self-discover why it makes sense for them, but it also should have been talked about and discussed up front. So I want to give you a question. Again, these are all powerful questions about the 6-step sales process. Here's the powerful question if they have a financial professional or somebody else that they consider or they share with you. You want to say something like this. Mr. Jones, I can appreciate that you have an existing professional helping you. Matter of fact, I'd be surprised if you didn't. Oftentimes, people have more than one financial professional supporting them, and I just want to ask you a question. If I'm able to show you some value and some ideas that maybe are new and different, would you be willing to allow me to be a member of your financial team? What a question. I mean, you get them, who's going to say no to that? And frankly, if somebody says no to that, you saved yourself 3 hours. So I really encourage you to ask it and ask it in that way. I've heard people ask it in a very abrupt way, like, would you do business with me if I show you some good ideas? Are you willing to put the business through me? Oh, terrible. So again, it's, would you be willing, if I share ideas, you like me, you enjoy our conversation, and I share some things that could help you, would you be willing to allow me to be a member of your financial team? All right? That's the power question on that series. So those 4 questions are all powerful. They're all critical. And you're going to see how we incorporate them throughout the framework of the entire presentation. So now what you're seeing here is the input as I shared. All right? So watch this, everybody. Literally, you press a button. The calculation occurs, and what is produced is this 6-step sales story. And now you have a framework of which to communicate and persuade and show and work from. Okay? So the first step is what we call connecting. All right, now this is the second meeting. You've already done the fact finder. We've learned some things, and I'm going to illustrate for you what this first meeting might sound like in the early stage. Mr. Jones, it's great to see you. And I wanted to just bring us up to speed on the 4 questions, critical questions that I asked you last time, and just review those to make sure we're still on the same page. When it came to your concerns, you were very worried about running out of money in retirement. Your mom had run out of money in retirement. And at age 80, she had to go back to work and wait tables. And that was very difficult on you and your family. Do you recall talking about that? Of course, he's going to say yes. You also shared with me that if money wasn't an issue for you, what you would love to do is drive around on an RV and enjoy golf at all the different beautiful resorts, the Myrtle Beaches, the Pebble Beaches. And your dad was a wonderful role model for you. Obviously, your mom, not so wonderful. But most importantly, what you shared with me is that when you get all the facts, you take the initiative to make the decision. While you may check with your dad, ultimately, we talked about you being the person that makes your financial decisions. Have I heard everything correct? And I'm going to go into the numbers in a minute, but I want to just make sure that I incorporated what you care about into our program. Okay. Now, what does that help the guy, the financial professional? It's going to help show that you listened, shows that you care. And what does that do? When you listen to people and you show them that you care, guess what's happening? You're building trust. What's the most important thing in a sales environment? Trust, especially with us, with money. So you've got to build trust. You're going to build more trust by asking those 4 questions, rehashing them at the beginning of the second meeting, and not only that, following through with bringing those and weaving those in within the framework of our entire situation. Okay? So now we're going to start step 2. And step 2 starts with a quick video, Mr. Jones, that I want to share with you. Obviously, you're not going to say step 2 to Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, I'd like to show you a video from a renowned author and economist. And he's an expert in retirement distribution planning. And he's part of our organization. And I'd like to play a quick 90-second video for you to hear. And then we'll have a quick discussion after. So go ahead and play the video, Reese.
Hey, Tom Hegney here. I want to welcome you to your Institute of Financial Wellness Retirement Roadmap experience. I've trained over 300,000 financial professionals around the world throughout my career, and I've educated millions of consumers through my Don't Worry, Retire Happy presentation, which was on PBS and aired in over 80 million homes in the US and Canada. The reason I'm so excited to be part of the Institute of Financial Wellness Retirement Roadmap experience is because it demonstrates concisely something I've been advocating for years, not living a just-in-case retirement. You know, people say, oh, I want to join the country club, I want to buy a boat, I want to see the world, but they don't. And what happens is they don't touch their money, and they don't touch their money, and they don't touch their money, and then what happens? They die. And when they die, what happens? Money goes to kids. What do the kids do with it? They join the country club, they buy a new boat, they go see the world. Look, we want you to enjoy your retirement and not live a just-in-case retirement. Your Institute of Financial Wellness Certified Financial Professional, together with the Institute of Financial Wellness Retirement Roadmap software program, will provide you a customized report of your retirement and show you how to get the most money and have the highest probability of a successful retirement. Furthermore, based on math and science and studies by PhDs and economists around the world, they're going to show you financial techniques that will give you the confidence to enjoy your money. You're going to love the Institute of Financial Wellness Retirement Roadmap experience.
So now I'm going to teach everybody something that I learned also. Another, in my opinion, very powerful question, and as simple as it comes. Mr. Jones, what did you think of that? And listen, right? I mean, I ask, what are your thoughts so many times throughout a presentation, not yes and no questions all the time, but open-ended questions like, what are your thoughts? What do you think of that? Now, the point of that video is to get them in the mindset of enjoying themselves and living the best life in retirement, right? And overcoming any obstacles. So that's the premise of that. And there's a reason for that, is because we want them to stretch, and we want our job to show them how they can get the most money in retirement without running out of money, so that the before and the after has an impact. If they give you a really low number and their mindset is, scarcity, they're gonna have 100% chance of success. You're gonna show them new ideas. They're still gonna have 100% chance of success, and it's not gonna be as powerful. Even though they'll have more money based on your ideas and using the volatility buffer, it's not as impactful, okay? So that's the part of Tom Hegna. And again, I'm incorporating these questions into the framework. Now, the next part that I want to talk to you about, Mr. Jones, is some of the challenges that are going to get in the way. This is the segue. Challenges that are going to get in the way of you being on that golf course. You see how I weaved it in? I'm going to show you some challenges of how we're going to overcome so you can be on the golf course and not end up like your mom, right? Very important. So taxes have come down considerably over the years, and debt in our country has gone up significantly. A matter of fact, our national debt interest every single year is greater than our defense budget. So most experts feel passionately that tax rates have no place to go but up. What do you think? Silence. Again, you've got to ask these questions that get the person speaking to you. You're not learning anything when you're talking. So what do you think, Mr. Jones? He's going to say they're probably going to go up. Very few people, if any, ever say it's going to go down. Great. And then you close with, well, then what we might want to consider is paying some taxes now on maybe some retirement accounts and seeing if that improves your situation, because I'd rather see us pay taxes now instead of later when rates go higher, right? We all grew up in a mindset, this is a sidebar, that, it was 70% tax rates, get it in a 401k, eliminate that 70% tax. It's not that way anymore. Taxes aren't going down in retirement, they're going up. Okay, Mr. Jones, the second thing I want to share with you that's another challenge. As a matter of fact, this is a blind spot in retirement, is something called sequence of returns risk. Have you ever heard of that? Probably going to say no. Then we're going to explain it, okay? We're going to explain how when you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, and you're accumulating money, the sequence or the order of your returns doesn't matter. Math is math in this example. Doesn't matter the order. We flip the order on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, and in scenario A and B, we get to the same exact spot. So it doesn't matter that we flipped the order of returns because we're in accumulation. However, Mr. Jones, we're nearing retirement with you. And what a lot of people have absolutely no idea about is that if they retire and early on they have some negative years and they're forced to take withdrawals during those negative years, it could decimate their portfolio. And that's what happened to this person on the left-hand side. You see, we lost in those first couple of years and we were taking withdrawals, so it was like a double whammy. We hurt our portfolio so much, it was never able to recuperate. This could have been what happened to your mom. See how I weave that back in there? Right? This could have been what happened to your mom. Not sure. On the right-hand side, we had a very good beginning. And we end up being able to withdraw $3 million, pull out $2.5 million. Pull out $3 million and still have $2.5 million left. And now we're in a great situation. But this is based on luck. Do you know, Mr. Jones, if you're going to retire and have the first few years be good or bad? Question. He's going to say no. So what we do is we create a financial strategy that eliminates or lowers the risk of that happening to you. And it's called a volatility buffer. Have you ever heard of that? Again, another question. You got to get them involved, right? You're going to do that through questions. Then you're going to explain to Mr. Jones that, look, all this is about not having to sell when things are down. We've got to drive this point home, everyone. They've got to understand it's all about not being forced to sell things that are down in value. And if you don't have a safe bucket, a volatility buffer, then you are at risk for being forced to sell. Imagine you had a house and the real estate market was down. Big deal. If you're still living there, it doesn't matter. But if you need to sell it, it matters a lot. Same thing with stocks. What if you retired in 2000, 2001, 2008, 2020, 2022? When these markets are down and you're forced to take withdrawals because you don't have a volatility buffer, you're at risk. And we want to eliminate that risk for you, which is why this volatility buffer concept is so key. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Jones? Remember, you see how I'm asking open-ended questions that engage people to discuss? I don't always say, I hear it all the time. Does that make sense? And I do it sometimes. I'm guilty of it. Does that make sense? But change that with what are your thoughts? And be quiet and listen, because you can learn so much about where the client's coming from and what things you need to address by asking those simple questions throughout the framework, again, of what we're discussing. So this framework with these questions is critical. Now we're on step number 3, which is a simple one. This is all about verification. And all we're doing here with Mr. Jones is just verifying data and making sure we're accurate. Again, what do I believe? I believe this builds trust. And I believe you should tell the client that you want to make sure you're accurate, that you got things right. So let's review, Mr. Jones. You shared with me that you wanted $5,000 a month after taxes. You have $1 million. You're 65. I'm going to keep it simple. Of that $1 million, 50% of it's in stocks and 50% of it's in bonds. And you also have $2,000 a month coming in from Social Security. Mr. Jones, do you think any of the assets that you have right now are volatility buffers? You might want to throw that in there. Ask that question. And maybe bring to light that bonds aren't a volatility buffer. A lot of people are not aware of that. Okay? So we verify. Simple. Verify, just make sure we're accurate, building more trust and credibility. Now we go to step number 4. All right? This is my favorite step. Goes like this. You know, Mr. Jones, what we're going to do is, as Mr. Hegna shared, we're going to run an analysis. And it's based on math and science, and actually based on something called Monte Carlo simulation. Have you ever heard of that? He's going to say, no, not really, unless he's an engineer. And we're going to say, and again, I say the same thing every time. It's a statistical modeling technique that takes things that are very random and makes them predictable. As a matter of fact, I say this every time, NASA uses it to launch spaceships. Engineers use it to build bridges and tunnels. And oh, by the way, it's also used by casinos to make sure they win at slot machines and they win at roulette. And they always win. And we want you to win in your retirement. And here's the question. Right now, what the math and science is telling us, based on what you want and what you have, you've got a D score, a 67% chance of achieving your goals. Here's the question. How does that make you feel? Silence. How does that make you feel? Silence. They're going to be a little uncomfortable. And we're not here to, scare them and do that. So we lighten it up a little bit and say, listen, don't worry. The good news is you've done okay. You've accumulated some good money, but we can do better, right? You've done okay, but we can do better. So I want you to imagine now, remember that concept that I shared with you before about the volatility buffer? Now I'm going to show you what that can do inside your portfolio. So we're simply going to transfer and tweak and move money to the volatility buffer. All right? Half your portfolio is going to be in the volatility buffer. Half of it's going to be in the stocks and bonds. And when the stocks and bonds, remember what we're doing here. When the stocks and bonds are doing well and we need money, we can take from them. But if the stocks and bonds aren't doing well, we're not going to be forced to sell here. We're going to be able to take money from the volatility buffer. We call that dynamic distributions. And look what happens by doing that. Look at what happens to your score. You go from having a 67% chance of achieving your goals, a D plus, to an A plus. How does that make you feel? Silence again. Power questions, open-ended questions, getting them to have discussions. How does that make you feel? So now they obviously are going to feel a little better. But to me, all right, another part of the framework that we give everybody is what's called back briefing. What's that? In order for somebody to learn something, they are much more likely to grasp it if they explain it to you. And you'll know that they understand it if you're getting them to explain it to you. So what we do is we take ownership of it being our responsibility to explain things in an easy to understand way. And what we say to people is, look, I want to make sure I explain this really well. In order to do that, sometimes what I do is I put you on the spot a little bit and ask you to explain back to me how we got from that D plus to the A plus. And it's on me, it's not on you. If you can explain it to me and we are in agreement that you explain it properly to me, then I know I've done a good job. And if you can't, it's on me. I've done a poor job explaining it and I have to re-explain it. So you get them to explain it to you. So now you know. You're building trust with those questions. You're then shifting it in to having them repeat it back to you. You've woven in their concerns and their goals and objectives. You've educated them on a concept. And now you show them this. And then you might want to drive it home a little bit. It's up to you with this slide or this page where it shows the portfolio returns. And in the green, it's up. And you see that the money comes from the growth bucket. You want them understanding that when the portfolio is up, you're going to take money from the portfolio. And when the portfolio is down, you're going to take money from the volatility buffer. Okay? So now we're going to get to this slide again. We're going to go back to it. And here's my favorite part. This is the Steve Jobs moment. Okay? Now, in a nutshell, you could say, what would you rather have, 67 or 96? That's a Steve Jobs question in and of itself. It's a no-brainer, right? But I like to add a little color to it and I like to weave in their concerns. And I like to give them a little bit of a sense that I'm comfortable that they have to make a change or a decision. So I say something like this. You know, Mr. Jones, clearly you'd rather have a 67% chance, a 96% chance than a 67% chance. That's obvious, right? But I want to talk to you about something. It's going to be uncomfortable because you have to make a change. And change is always a little bit uncomfortable for people. So I have a question for you. Would you rather be a little bit uncomfortable, make a change, make an adjustment, and have an A plus, a 96% chance of achieving your goals, being on the golf course, Myrtle Beach, Pebble Beach, not being like your mom, or staying where you're at and having a 67% chance, a D, and not doing anything? What would you rather do? And that to me is the Steve Jobs question that we could ask. You've got to know what the things are, being like their mom, being on the golf course. If you don't know, you didn't do the fact finding in the beginning, then you're not going to be able to ask as powerful a question as that. So, okay. So, I hope that's extremely helpful for everybody. We talked about the power of questions in this 6-step sales process. Now, I know there's some of you out there that are wondering, what about an income annuity? Because what we just did is we used an annuity as a volatility buffer, right? So now I'm just going to show you very, very quickly how this could work in an environment where you're using an annuity as the income rider. So this person wanted $6,100 a month. They had the same $1 million, 65 years old. They're going to retire in 5 years. They've got $1 million, 40% stocks this time, 60% bonds, $2,800 coming from Social Security. They're working for 5 more years. What do? They got a 66% chance of success. What is that? How does that make you feel, Mr. Jones? You know, the same story. Then what we do is the software can be plugged in for those income annuities as well. So now I've got income annuities, but I can't just do one because won't keep pace with inflation. So I did 3 different ones staggered throughout the years. One exercises in 6 years, one turns on income in 8 years, and one turns on in 10 years. And look at what happens. This is an annuity from Nassau Re. It was a real annuity, a real number. They had a really good income annuity. There you go. 66 becomes a 99% chance of success. Okay? So very, very powerful. Again, all the same language, everything the same, just a difference in the strategy that we use.